guys, it's Kayla.
And Jim.
And welcome back to another Meteorology Monday.
Today we are going to discuss the long-awaited, anticipated Cat 7 End of the World movie.
Before we start, I just have an open letter to Hollywood, okay? If you guys need help, which after seeing many a movie you do, we're available. I mean, even if you just want the Wikipedia version of things, like, we are here and ready to assist you. Because my God, if I have to sit through another one of these movies. Also, I have a bone to pick with you guys. So we watched Cat 6, right? Ended up being the best weather movie that we had ever seen. If you haven't seen our review on that, check that out first.
It's a good one.
You guys were all writing in the comments, oh, you also have to see Cat 7. Watch Cat 7, Cat 7, Cat 7. You didn't tell me it was bad. I thought it was another good one. So I sit down, you know, grab my coffee. I've got my ice cream in front of me. We sit down to watch this movie. And oh my goodness, what was it? We lasted about 5 minutes watching this movie before we had to pause it. And we were like, this is going to be a terrible 3 hours.
Yeah, it was in 2 parts. I think they were both an hour and a half, roughly, just like Cat 6. We got into it about 30 minutes into it. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is just
No. It was like 500 mile per hour storm.
Yeah.
Again, if you haven't seen that review, highly recommend. That was probably the worst weather movie we've ever reviewed. I feel betrayed. I thought it was going to be a good movie. Stop.
We'll get into it.
We'll get into it.
We're jumping too far.
All right.
We're going to look at some clips, obviously.
We're going to look at some clips.
Talk about a little bit of the terminology that they used. We'll talk a little bit about the situations that they were in. We want to stay focused on the meteorology. That's our whole point of these videos. We're going to focus on the meteorology. But with some of these movies, some of the scenes kind of extend beyond the weather part, because you're scratching your head and you're going, how did they get to where they're at? What's going on here? Forgive us if we go off on a little tangent. Understand that we're reviewing this as meteorologists. We want to give you our reaction to the meteorology parts, but there is a little bit of upfront matter that needs to be described ahead of time. Yeah. So we're going to take a look at the first scene. This is going to take place in Paris. Just after the segment where he says this is going to be global catastrophe, epic proportions, and that's before everything goes nuts at the end of the movie. But here we are, setting the bar.
We have a tornado in the Eiffel Tower. Oh no. Would it be a weather movie without a scene like that?
Opens the dark shades.
and let's not get away from the windows or anything. Let's not take shelter. Let's watch from our wall of windows. Can we point out our typical trope of it is not raining?
Okay, so there's the funnel there. Okay, yep.
There we go.
All right.
Okay.
Those poor guys got sucked into it. That's how... Clip number 1.
Okay, so we have established already that these are not normal storms. We have many tornadoes just doing their own thing.
Don't forget also a check in the checkbox for destruction of a well-known landmark.
Oh yes. No rain. Destroy a well-known landmark. Because how else will we know that we're in Paris if we don't destroy the Eiffel Tower?
Moving on to scene number 2. This is where they have a storm where the storm chasers actually are getting in place. They found a position. They have rockets that they're going to launch.
They have rockets.
To get the lower atmosphere dynamics of what's going on while the jet is flying around, getting the upper level. That's another thing that we need to possibly talk about, the mesosphere, but we'll get there.
We'll get there.
Clip number 2.
Clip number 2. Okay, so we are on a lake with many a water spout.
What is that? Nothing I've ever seen. Which makes it what I think we've been looking for. Extreme low pressure, very cold. bone dry with the gas mixture. Are we still the trigger?
They think they found out how the tornadoes are forming.
Found a severe wind shear. Wind shear?
The gas mixture.
Using the data stream. Hey, to you and Patrick, give me an update.
And now we are launching
What's up, thank you, is what we need.
Dorothy on a firework. Oh, yes.
Classic textbook storm chaser. Okay, so
Okay.
it looks like the weather scene was legit in terms of a water spout had the look of what it would be
Yep.
over water.
Yep.
The cloud structures and stuff like that looked turbulent and stuff like that. How it connected to the rest of the cloud, might be somewhat questionable, but they kind of did a decent job. Definitely more believable. One of their more believable scenes.
was alright.
We'll give them some props on that
It
one.
was okay. Launching a rocket into a storm. Okay. We're getting there with technology nowadays. We have similar things to it. They never once go over what it's measuring or how it's transmitting the data because there's no antennas on the rockets. It's never actually even said what she is. They say that she went to school for something, and we see her storm chasing, so I guess we are meant to assume that she's a meteorologist.
They don't really describe a lot of things.
No, they never call her a meteorologist. Interesting scene.
Is it 100% accurate? Those canoes flew over his head in the opposite direction of where the tornado is, so the tornado is blowing it out or something like that, or the wind is blowing away from the tornado.
But it doesn't blow the planes off track right next to them.
And they're trying to launch a rocket, so this rocket's going to overpower that kind of wind to get into. I don't know. Some of that is not quite.
No.
I don't know if you all have seen Reed Timmer and their team try to launch rockets, around tornadoes. And I mean, they'd be right next to the thing. There's plenty of inflow, and they fire it, and it just goes in all different directions.
It's like, what is propelling this thing to make it lock on to a tornado and fly right at it? Interesting concept, not practical in today's sense. A little shout out to everybody back in that little extreme weather lab and all of their radars
The
behind
Extreme
them.
Weather Lab, yes.
And all the radars behind them that have the exact same image the entire movie.
Oh, that reminds me of that one scene. The hurricane.
Oh my gosh. Do we have a clip of that?
They literally say the hurricane is either over DC
The
or
eye is over DC.
it's just about to nail them. And then they go to a satellite image, and it's a hurricane-looking storm right over Tallahassee, Florida. The entire, you can see North Carolina all the way up to the northeast. There's no clouds.
There's no, that northern storm that's coming down from Buffalo isn't there. They said that this hurricane hit Miami and is going up the East Coast. It's clearly in the Gulf of Mexico. There's no other weather for miles and states. It doesn't make any sense with the movie.
They didn't even try.
It's like,
They didn't try.
here's a hurricane. Just boom, there we go. Just put it over some form of ocean, make it hit a Florida, because why not? And then there you go. There's your hurricane.
The scenes before it showed it actually moving in the right direction.
Yes.
And then they showed this one image of it's over DC now, and then you look at it and you go, it's clear over DC. All right, moving on to scene number 3. This is the setup. This
Here
is
we go.
where we go from Cat 6 to Cat 7. You ready for it?
We got perfect data from the rocket. I don't know about Davis yet, but
Cross Florida just called. Our storm track model just put out an alert. They think our northern storm is going to bend south. I think it's going to collide with Hurricane Eduardo. Ross, how bad is that?
Jude, if those two storms hit over DC and DC's thermal column interacts with the mesosphere, we're not talking Category 6. This is going to be a Category 7.
Okay. Well, so we've got a couple of things to talk about here.
They have gotten rid of their vagueness. We now have reasons as to why everything is happening.
First of all, Florida called.
Florida called. The state of Florida hit her up on the phone. And they have storm track models.
Well,
The little radar image thing there,
there's
cool.
some legitimacy there.
Cool.
At least they used it in the right spot.
Yeah.
Totally accurate? No. But in terms of Hollywood,
But,
okay, in the
you
right
know,
spot.
They did it. You know, it wasn't a hurricane over the Gulf of Mexico when it was supposed to be over DC. Everything else, though,
So he says we got perfect data
We have
from the
perfect data.
rocket that they launched at a water spout.
in Michigan, I believe.
Yeah, it was up north. It was north of DC. They're talking about that data with that storm.
Yes.
Now, with just that alone, that was the trigger to say this storm system is moving south.
Yes.
Oh, and if it moves south and our Eduardo is moving from the north, they're going to meet up here in DC. And if it hits DC, and if DC's thermal column merges with dissension from the mesosphere, the mesosphere.
The mesosphere? You were doing so good keeping it vague! What does the mesosphere have to do with this?
Could we do like a brief little thing on the structure of the atmosphere?
Okay, we're gonna
Just really quick.
we're gonna put a pause to the movie,
Troposphere,
putting on our science hats here.
tropopause, stratosphere.
Stratosphere,
Stratopause.
stratopause, and
I mean,
then mesosphere. Mesosphere. The space is coming down through the atmosphere and is going to collide with the heat of one singular U.S. city to create the most massive storm as this random thunderstorm squall line combines with Hurricane Eduardo because Florida said so.
well put.
What the?
But here's the thing. When you see these images, all right, you see finally, I don't know whether it was the end of part 1, somewhere's in part 2, probably part 2, where you actually saw some sort of materialization of what they were talking about from the mesosphere descending, you know, the column descending as the jet is flying around. Okay, you see all sorts of clouds around it. So the jet and the clouds are in the troposphere at that point.
Yes,
Okay?
very solidly
So
in the troposphere.
This column already descended at whatever rate through the mesosphere, through the stratopause, through the stratosphere, through the tropopause, and now we're down somewhere lower in the troposphere. And it's just rapidly descending, and they're talking about the heat columns from our energy systems. There's certain heat island effects, and those heat areas are causing like lightning, you know, how the
Yes.
step leaders and everybody are kind of coming
and
together.
then once they
It's kind of
connect-
that concept.
Yes, with the very cold mesosphere air and the heat island effect of the cities being hot.
So we're totally ignoring adiabatic processes.
We're
And
totally
they can be suspended if it's a rapid movement. I don't believe this is, I mean,
And another thing, you have a significant inversion layer of the stratosphere. So the way that the atmosphere works, you've got your troposphere, your stratosphere, your mesosphere. Mesosphere, cold, close to space. Troposphere, hot, close to ground. Okay. Where the troposphere cools with height, the stratosphere warms with height. And then it cools again in the mesosphere. So if you have this really cold column of air coming from the mesosphere, it'll actually warm up when it gets into the stratosphere before it hits the troposphere.
right. It
So
starts
it's
to
not
warm
going to be
and
this
eventually
extremely
cools
cold.
as it gets
Yeah.
down. But it has to go through a warming process.
It's gotta warm up as it goes through the stratosphere.
Let's double check this just to make sure. Let's pull up an atmospheric, because mesosphere is above stratosphere.
It is.
We're not getting this wrong, right? This video is going to wind up being 30 minutes long.
Troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, exosphere. Mesosphere is the cream filling to the Oreo. At some point, we're just going to have to call it quits.
Kudos for them trying to come
Good
up with
job.
an idea.
You picked the one sphere that wouldn't work! You could have said stratosphere and okay, sure. But mesosphere. And not the mesosphere, the massosphere.
That's right, he says mesosphere.
Massosphere. Mesosphere, my dude.
Alright, there's so many other clips that we could look at.
It's just more of this They continue talking about the mesosphere coming down and causing this thing. The hurricane ends up over DC. There's the check boxes of you must get in a car in the middle of this hurricane and be battered by debris. Again, not raining. There is the somebody is in peril and we must get to safety at the last possible second. Then there is the also familiar trope of let's introduce 4 new storylines at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Because we need as many people in danger as possible.
Things were going so many different directions. And then when the storm actually did move over DC and it was intensifying, they said, okay, the eye is now over DC and people are now moving around. If it was a Cat 7, there'd be nobody to rescue. There wouldn't be emergency personnel. There wouldn't be FEMA. These people are still in the same buildings that they were. None of it made sense. And they built this up to be this major thing that we've never seen this before.
Never seen before.
And yet buildings are still standing, people are still running around even at the height of this thing. It just it didn't make sense.
That was another thing. This unprecedented event, right? This Category 7. It's gotta be a Category 7 hurricane because
Cat 7.
We've never seen this. It has winds gusting to 150 miles an hour. That's where they lost me.
That's
gusting.
Right. That
Not
was
even sustained wind.
That was a reporter, and that's what he said.
It's definitely a Cat 5. That's what he said. It was definitely a Cat 5 because it had winds gusting to 150 miles an hour. My dude, Cat 5 is 157 sustained. You can get gusts of 200. That's not a Cat 5. You're in a Cat 4 hurricane. It's not unprecedented in Florida. Florida gets hit by a Cat 5 every year. They're used to it. You can see people in the background are probably having a hurricane party.
She just put the thing up here that says, well, not every year.
Not every year.
But still, the point being is that it's not unusual for Florida.
They blew this out of proportion.
This just was
it's a Cat
totally
4.
Totally. Yeah.
That being said,
it's time to
bail
button
on
this up.
this.
Our poor viewers here, they're just kind of like, all right, we get your point. We feel your pain. We get you. We just wanted to see how you guys would fall off your chairs.
This is a therapy session, okay? We watched it, now we're venting. So, thank you guys for watching our review of this train wreck of a movie.
Thank you for listening to our rant. For the world of Hollywood being wrong as a whole.
Again, Hollywood, if you're interested, 2 meteorologists sitting here for a consult, just let us know next time you're making a weather movie.
Tell you what, we'll give you a piece of advice right now. Go back and watch Twister. Just start that. Go back and watch The Wizard of Oz.
The Wizard of Oz.
I'll give you the first 10-15 minutes of The Wizard of Oz. There you go. Nothing more said.
Watch Storm Chasers and just read Wikipedia. That's a good start as well.
That's right. And we understand Hollywood needs to sensationalize a few things to get the drama going and to get the stir up emotion. And we get that. But how much emotion and drama was stirred up when you're watching Storm Chasers? And you're seeing Storm Chasers' lives literally in the balance when you're seeing this coming down and they're trying to chase and get away. And the storm's behind us. We're not chasing it, it's chasing us. You don't need to drum up false emotions in a movie. Just use those scenarios and they will drum up the same emotional responses.
Exactly. There you
go. Hollywood, she'll post her phone number below. Not just
I will not! So there you have it. Cat 7, end of the world. The world still stands, that's all I'm saying. At the end of the movie, the world was perfectly fine. If you like what you saw today, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below for our pain of watching this movie. If you have a fantastic weather movie that you think is extremely scientifically accurate, if that exists, leave it below. We would love to review it immediately to get our minds off of this one.
And for all those that suggested this movie, 2 things. Number 1, if you were looking for a laugh, you certainly got it.
There's your laugh.
If you're looking for us to get a headache and have some sort of panic attack over us, you got that too. So We appreciate you guys giving us all, on a serious note, we appreciate you guys giving us your comments, your feedback, giving us your suggestions. It's all done in family fun.
There we go.
And you know, this is our family, you know, the Meteotech fam.
And as usual, all of our social media stuff popping up here. Go check us out on Instagram, say hey, Facebook, and until next time.
I don't even know what to say for this one.
Until next time, I'm Kayla.
And I'm Jim.
Thanks for watching.
And may your mesosphere be permanently in the place it's supposed to be. Day 7, end of the world.
Nope, it's Cat 7, not Day 7.